Hey everybody, Manga Man Chris here, and welcome to a brand new video. This one is going to be a bit of an experiment. I've never really done a video in this format before, that being an informative, I try to make all my videos informative, but this one is the first in hopefully a series for the channel that for right now I'm just calling History of insert title here. And so I thought I'd kick it off with probably one of my favorite franchises, just in general, Ghost in the Shell. If the context clues weren't enough, it's Ghost in the Shell. But that's besides the point. This is a new thing for me. I'm also trying out a new editing software, so when this video actually comes out and you guys see it for the first time, let me know what you guys think, if there's anything I need to change or add or get rid of. Editing wise, how that looks and stuff like that. I'm using a brand new editing software, so it's all a bit new to me, and so it's a learning process. Also, my dog Sierra is here right now, so she might wander over here. You might get a little cameo from her, but that's beside the point, and that's the only real housework I need to do right now. And she's getting on my bed. Anyways, with that out of the way, let me go ahead and just get into the introduction for you guys. My initial thoughts with the video were to mainly just kind of go over the history of a given franchise. And today it's Ghost in the Shell. Now, granted, I am not the be-all, end-all when it comes to Ghost in the Shell history, facts, all that kind of stuff. I don't claim to know everything, because I don't know everything, you know? And so there are certain series that I haven't seen and don't really know that much about, and it'll become abundantly clear when we get to them in the video itself that I'll tell you, hey, I haven't seen this, I don't really know that much about it, besides doing a little bit of cursory research just to get the bare bones of what I think people would want to know. And this is sort of I like to think of it as a beginner's guide. If you've never seen anything Ghost in the Shell ever, or if you're just like Ghost in the Shell, Sierra, stop. You're shaking the table, girly. She has her nose right under the table. So, yep. And she's bonking. Sierra, really? Okay. Dog cameo in the video. So, anyways, the gist of this video is just to get some basic knowledge out there. I'm going to be talking about something I really love, and I hope you guys can get that across in the video, that I really, really enjoy this. So that's why I want to talk to you guys about it. So, first off, we're starting from the very beginning with the manga. And right here, this is my Grail manga. This is the first printing of the Ghost in the Shell Omnibus Tankobon from Dark Horse. Printed the wrong way, printed like an American comic. I go back up to the front cover. Sierra, my God, girly. Stop, just sit, please, thank you. She's gonna be the death of me one day. If I look at this copyright page, first printing, copyright 1991. Copyright 1995 for Dark Horse, first printing. Printed in Canada. First edition. Nice. So, this is one of my personal favorites. It's awesome. So I'm going to get into the manga now. So this manga was written by Masamune Shirow, written and illustrated by Masamune Shirow. This is not his first work. His first work he self-published, and it was called Black Magic. So other stuff that he's done is Appleseed and Dominion Tank Police, both of which have gotten anime adaptations, both like in the either late 80s, early 90s, I believe. And I do not know if Black Magic has gotten a anime adaptation, but I have read through the first couple chapters of it, and it's pretty good. Shiro has a very, very recognizable art style, and yeah, I can immediately tell, it's like, oh yeah, this is Shiro stuff. So those are his first works, and Ghost in the Shell itself was serialized in Young Magazine when it was first coming out, chapter by chapter. And also, fun fact, when Shiro was just starting out as a mangaka, he was also working part-time as an art teacher. So he was writing black magic and teaching art at the same time, which I thought was pretty cool to learn. I didn't know that. So, Ghost in the Shell, the original manga, tells the story of Section 9 and their journey and events through various cases that they work on, and it's written in a very episodic way. And it's definitely a lot more lighthearted and goofy when you compare it to other stuff in the franchise. It's night and day, honestly, in certain aspects. And a sequel to the original manga was released 10 years later, in 1999, called Man Machine Interface, which tells the story of Motoko about, I believe it's like 4 or 5 years after the events of the first volume, and it's her sort of dealing with this new, basically around the same time this book was written, the internet was sort of becoming a thing, so that's why it's sort of her dealing with being sort of an online only entity, which is pretty cool. And also, it's done with completely computer generated, almost completely computer generated artwork. So it's Shiro's artwork, but there's also a lot of CGI and 3D images sort of rotoscoped in there. And a third volume was released called Ghost in the Shell 1.5 Human Error Processor in 2003, which bridges the gap between the original manga and Man-Machine Interface. And it's probably my favorite of the three. Ghost in the Shell, the original, is really, really good, but I really, really enjoyed 1.5. And it's great. It bridges the gap a little bit. It's the cases they go over are a lot more detailed, I think, than in the first volume. That's probably why I think I liked it more. But a little bit of a side note to round out this sort of section of the video about the manga. It's not the only manga that was written. There's more manga written that I have, and I'll show you guys that later. But I have this sort of blocked up in sections. But yeah, there's more manga that was written, not by Shiro, but still in the Ghost in the Shell franchise. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So with the manga out of the way, the original manga, not all of the manga, of course. With that out of the way, we are moving on to, in chronological order, the Ghost in the Shell movie, released in 1995. And this here, folks, for people born in the 21st century, this is a VHS tape. This is what it looks like. It comes with a little slip. If I wanted to, I could go back in time and turn this in for a t-shirt. It's pretty cool to have that. But this friends, my younger friends, this is a VHS tape. This is what movies used to come on. I have a lot of VHS tapes. Didn't have this one. This one was pretty cool to get. I don't have a VHS tape player. I'm a little sad, but the seller I bought this from said it still works great. There's no sort of wear and tear on the tape, which was a thing that could happen, younger people. I realize that might sound a little patronizing coming from someone who's also young, but my sister and I, growing up in the early 2000s, basically just lived in the 90s because my parents never bought anything new. They never did. So we had VHS players. Well, everyone else I knew had, DVD players. We had VHS tapes that were getting kind of old and ratty. It wasn't until like 2006 where they're like, you can play DVDs? Weird. And we got our first DVD player in like 2006. So I grew up with all the old stuff. So did my sister, my older sister. But it's very nice to have a VHS. We still have some, but they're like old family heirloom stuff, family videos and stuff like that. But this is a VHS of the original movie, and I have the 4K version right here. This is one of my favorite movies. A while back, they had, I believe, the 30th anniversary of the original movie. Was I think 2 or 3 years ago, and they had a showing of it in the movie theaters, which I didn't get to go to, but I was very sad when that happened. But just recently, actually no, I'll get to that later. But this is the original movie, released in 1995, directed by Mamoru Oshii, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's really good. It's really short too. It's only like 90 minutes, so it's a very good watch. I highly recommend people watch it. So the original movie is much darker in tone compared to the original manga. As I said before, the movie covers some deeper philosophical issues like self-identity, and while that is present in the original manga, it's much more emphasized in the movie. And in 2007, the sequel to the original Ghost in the Shell was released, called Ghost in the Shell 2: Innocence. Same director, Mamoru Oshii. In the 1995 adaptation, Motoko is drawn in a much more mature style than in the manga. In the manga, she's very like feminine and flamboyant. In the movie, if you've seen the movie, she's very monotone, cut and dry. Definitely a more sort of asexual kind of style to her drawing. Sort of ambiguous at times. Which reflects the tone of self-identity issues in the movie itself. She, you know, her main conflict in the movie is, you know, she's starting not to believe that even her soul is real, that type of stuff. So that's sort of why that art style was taken. But on to some interesting facts about the movie. Reportedly, the budget for the 1995 movie was just over $10 million, and it was one of the first animated films to combine traditional cell animation with CGI at the same time. It was the first Japanese animated film at the time to be released simultaneously across Japan, the US, and the UK, and it also had funding from Japan, the US, and the UK, all contributing to get the movie made, essentially. And while not as successful in Japan, it was very successful in the West. In 1997, the VHS was sold over 270,000 times. So 270,000 copies sold by 1997. And the movie also is an inspiration for a lot of shit, man. The Matrix was heavily inspired by Ghost in the Shell, and reportedly the film's directors went so far as to show clips of the movie while they were pitching the Matrix to executives to help show what they were trying to go for with the movie. As I mentioned, the sequel, Ghost in the Shell 2: Innocence, also, fun fact, they just did a showing of this in theaters for the 25th anniversary, which I got to go to. It was great. A lot more people showed up than I thought there would be. There was about 30 of us in the theater. I had a great time. Everyone was super nice. Everyone was super hyped to go see the movie. But I got to see this in theaters on the big screen in 4K. Oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. But actually, to the movie itself, again, released in 2007, it is a direct sequel to the original Ghost in the Shell, and it follows that same sort of darker tone that Oshii set up in the original 1995 film. Unlike the original, Bato is the main character of the film, and it takes place several years after the events of the first film. Later in 2008, the original 95 film was remastered and re-released to have a similar art style to Innocence. Innocence has a much more refined art style. There's a lot of sections that are in 3D, or at least looks like it's in 3D, and the Ghost in the Shell sort of re-release that came out was just titled Ghost in the Shell 2.0, has very similar color palette. The original Ghost in the Shell has like a sort of green and blue color palette, and Innocence has a sort of orange and blue color palette. So they sort of they chroma matched. They matched the color scheme, and it kind of fits the tone a little bit more. And now, that is the Oshii saga of the Ghost in the Shell franchise. He did those first two movies, fantastic movies. I love them to bits. And now we're getting to probably my favorite bit of the Ghost in the Shell franchise, and that is Standalone Complex. So I have Standalone Complex Season 1 right here on Blu-ray. I have Season 2 right here. And I have the Standalone Complex movie, Solid State Society, right here. And we're going to go over them in that order. So, some facts for the Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex. The series was directed by Kenji Kamiyama, and it ran for 52 episodes from 2002 to 2005 in Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex and Ghost in the Shell SAC Second Gig. So it was split into 2 seasons, 52 episodes total. Now that we're talking about this series, we need to talk about something very important, and that is voice cast. Something quite unique to Ghost in the Shell is that the voice cast remains fairly consistent through almost all of the adaptations. And there's been a lot of adaptations of Ghost in the Shell, as you guys will see as we go through the video. So when it comes to the sort of main cast of 5 characters, they have had the same voice actors almost the entire time, with a couple of exceptions since the English dub was done for the original 1995 movie. So The Major, Motoko Kusanagi, in the movie was voiced by Mimi Woods in the original, but moving forward, she was voiced by Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, except for in Ghost in the Shell Arise. She played a different character, and Motoko was voiced by a different character, but we'll get to that, because Arise is a bit of like the redheaded stepchild of Ghost in the Shell. Bato has consistently been voiced by Richard Esper, the entire time, through the entire franchise. Togusa is voiced by Christopher Joyson, who I could not find a concrete picture of. And Ishikawa has been voiced by Michael Sorich up to the second season of the new Standalone Complex 2045 show that's on Netflix. When season 2 rolled around, the role was taken over by Mitchell McCarthy. And Section 9 Chief Aramaki is voiced by William Frederick Knight in every adaptation where the character appears. He doesn't always show up, and he's not around for very long in a lot of the adaptations, but he's been same voice actor the entire time. So now back to the actual show itself. All 52 episodes of the show through both seasons share a common pattern where some are directly connected to the overall plot and others are more standalone episodes, so usually focusing on specific characters and fleshing out the different members of Section 9. Both seasons cost a combined $7 million to make. At the time, that was Production IG's most expensive thing they've ever made. And in 2006, Solid State Society released, which wraps up the storyline for Standalone Complex as a whole and adapts much more of the manga than the original film. Standalone Complex is a very good mix of original content and manga content. If you've read the original manga and you watch Standalone Complex, you'll be like, oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. But it's not exact copies. It's adaptations. So it's a little different. Throw their own little spin on it. Going into storylines for the show in season 1 focuses on much more original content. And then for season 2 and the movie, it goes much more into the manga, and the movie focuses a lot more on volume 1.5 of the manga. And the music for the movie was composed by Yoko Kanno, who also did the phenomenal soundtrack for Cowboy Bebop. She arranged all of the music for Standalone Complex. They're all fantastic soundtracks. I recommend you guys go look them up. They're awesome. They're absolutely great, and you're listening to them, you can immediately tell, oh, that's Yoko Kanno. Oh, that's good. I like that. And in 2011, a 3D version of Solid State Society was released, kind of similar in way to how the 1995 movie was released. I have that version, but I don't have it with the English dub. It's only in Japanese and Mandarin, which is kind of funny. I have watched it. So, after Standalone Complex, we have Ghost in the Shell Arise. Now, this is part of the video where I'm gonna have to say I haven't watched Arise. It's kind of the redheaded stepchild of the franchise. Not everyone likes it. It does have its fans. Don't get me wrong. People do like it. But after watching some videos discussing it and seeing some of the art and just the way the adaptation goes, I'm not the biggest fan of how it contributes to the series, but I will still discuss it because it's still fun to discuss Ghost in the Shell, even if I don't like some of the things in the franchise. But moving on. So Ghost in the Shell Arise was originally released in 4 episodic chunks to theaters and later compiled into a regular season of a show. And then after that, the movie Arise, the new movie, was released in 2014. The original show ran from 2014 to 2015. Arise itself served as a sort of prequel series to the show and shows how Section 9 is formed, at least in that adaptation, how Section 9 is formed. Arise, again, I haven't seen it. It's a lot different. It's just a lot different. The art is great, but it doesn't feel up to the same quality. Does some new inventive things, don't get me wrong, but fumbles the ball when it comes to story and execution for a lot of fans. And looking at my notes here, we are moving on to the newest adaptation, and that is Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex 2045. Long title, but essentially, it's the one on Netflix. It's 3D. I've seen some of it, and it's actually really good. I do like it. I do think the 3D looks really good in that. But it's the newest series. It's on Netflix. It's 2 seasons, and let me get into it and discuss. Standalone Complex 2045 is a direct sequel to the original Standalone Complex. and it was released on Netflix in 2020. It's set 10 years after the events of Standalone Complex, hence the 2045. And while I have started it, I have not finished it, so I can't speak to the whole series. So I'm not the best source of inspiration there either. I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed the new animation style. And I'll just say it right now, I haven't seen the live action movie. I have no real inclination to watch it. Some people will enjoy it, but since I haven't seen the live action, I can't speak on it. And now that we're at this section of the video, it's time that we discuss the modern manga. There are sort of patterns that the Ghost in the Shell series follows. So with each modern anime adaptation, a manga is released. So when Standalone Complex came out, a manga for Standalone Complex came out, and I'll have B-roll showing that. Do that, me. Good job. So when Standalone Complex came out originally, the manga was released that sort of is an adaptation of the standalone episodes. When Arise came out, an Arise manga came out. That manga is really hard to get your hands on. I can't find a copy in English anywhere that isn't a bajillion dollars. And when 2045 came out, they didn't actually release a manga for 2045, but they did release a couple art books that I still want to get my hands on, but they are also quite expensive and hard to get your hands on. Getting into discussing the actual manga now. First, there is the Standalone Complex manga. This is essentially a manga version, like I said before, of the original standalone episodes. The ones not directly related to the main plot of the show, just in manga format. There's also one for Arise, like I said, but I don't have it. And then we have the Human Algorithm, which is currently going on. I really like it. I'm waiting for Volume 5 to come out. It serves as a prequel to the newer Netflix series. I personally really like this one. It's really, really compelling, and the plot and art style are fantastic. And they just started a new arc. And I'm still waiting on Volume 5 for that to come out. So, that's a lot. There's still more. There's one more section that I need to talk about, and that is video games. Ghost in the Shell is a big franchise, so it's not a surprise to really anyone that there's been some video games released for it. And so that's what this section is about. Video games. The first video game released for the franchise was simply titled Ghost in the Shell for the PlayStation 1. And it has some really cool full motion video cutscenes that you guys are seeing right now. I'm not going to play the music because I don't want to get it copyrighted, but it's really, really cool. You guys can go find it on YouTube. And it actually shares the same art style as the manga, so it's up to this point. I have an asterisk there. Up to this point, the PlayStation 1 game is the only sort of Ghost in the Shell adaptation that shares the same art style as the original manga. And I've tried to find a nice, not beat up, complete copy of the Ghost in the Shell for PlayStation 1. It's hard to find. It's expensive. I do really want to get it. It's one of my Grail games, but it's expensive. The next two games that came out were both called Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex. One for the PlayStation 2 and one for the PSP. I have the one for PlayStation 2. It's a bit janky, but it's quite fun. I've enjoyed it. And the PSP one I haven't played. I never had a PSP growing up. And the last game that came out was Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex Online, which was an online sort of hero shooter, kind of similar to Overwatch, that came out on PC. It is no longer active. It went offline in 2018, so no one can play it anymore. But the sort of the stills and screenshots I've seen, it looked pretty cool. The art style was pretty cool. But that's sort of lost media now at this point. No one can really play it because the servers are dead, which is sad. That's why I'm all for having physical copies of things, because when the servers go down, well, not so much online multiplayer games, but if something's removed from a digital storefront, I still have the physical copy. I can still play it. But that's another topic for another rant, another day. So that is basically all I wanted to cover in this video. There are a couple more niche things that I decided to not have that are sort of too niche, I think, for someone just trying to get a basic understanding of the Ghost in the Shell franchise. This art book is fantastic. For those of you who were maybe not paying as close attention, nothing against you. This is where I'm basically getting all of my B-roll from, is just flipping through this art book. It is fantastic. It's from the 25th anniversary exhibition. And that's where I'm getting all my B-roll from, because it's got a bit of everything in it. It's a great resource, and it's awesome to have in the collection. But looking at my notes here, there actually has been a new announcement. What? A new Ghost in the Shell announcement? What? Where? Ring the bells! Call the fire department! It's actually really cool. It's a new studio. It's new studio for Ghost in the Shell. It's not Production IG, but there is going to be an adaptation, an anime adaptation of the original Ghost in the Shell manga, which has never happened before. Big announcement. Slated for 2025, I believe. 2025 or 2026. Can't quite remember, but big thing. It's a new announcement. With that little bit of news out of the way, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. Let me know how you guys like this video. This is kind of new for me. I wrote notes down. I usually just off the cuff everything for these videos. But let me know what you guys thought. If there's anything I should add if I do another one of these, or something that I should sort of change up. But that is everything, complete with cameos from my dog nudging the table that has all the very expensive figures and stuff on it. But yeah, that's everything for the video, guys. So I will be sure to get this video out to you in a timely manner. Do that, future me, editor me. But that's beside the point. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.